I recently have upgraded to this Canon R5C camera. I've been very pleased with it. Getting to know the cinema side of the Canon line has been a great learning curve for me, but it actually makes a lot of sense because I'm a longtime Canon user. The problem that I ran into was there were two issues with the camera, one that I knew about when I went in, and the other one was discovered when I went to film a YouTube video like this. The first one is the battery life. We all know that the battery life is probably about 30 minutes, and we don't realize how fast 30 minutes goes by before now we've got to switch the battery. If you've got it on a tripod or something like that, it can be difficult to change the battery. So the way I overcame this is, the first thing I did is I used a cell phone lightning charger cord. It's a USB-C to C. This has enough wattage that you can plug it in and it'll do the USB PD. Works just fine. It's absolutely no problem at all. The problem is that's not very portable. Now recently Kondor Blue has come out with this power adapter that has the barrel plug on one side and a USB on the other. Figured I would give it a try, and it actually works really well. I have a whole slew of these NPF batteries. I wanted to utilize these because every light that I have has them, as well as the monitors and everything else, so I wanted to use them. Next thing I did is I went looking for a power base. Small Rig makes this one here, which is neat because it actually has a USB-C connector on it. You can actually use this for power out, but it will not supply enough for the Canon camera. I was really hopeful on that, but it didn't work. The other thing is you can charge your battery with a USB-C on this as well, which is a great feature, I think, if you're in the field. Now, that's great. You can take this, plug it in, plug your battery in, but that's still not very portable. So I had to come up with a solution for that. Now I've got two different ways to do this that I use myself, and hopefully they'll work for you. The first way that I do this is I purchased a Small Rig side handle for the camera, which is actually really nice because the camera is kind of heavy with the lens on it, and it makes it really well balanced. So the first thing I do is I screw the side handle into the camera here. So now we've got the camera itself, and it actually is very well balanced. The next thing, I've got a little Velcro loop here that I've put on, and we'll go ahead and we'll feed the cable through here so the power unit itself is hanging off of the side. Then we'll grab our Small Rig base, we'll stick it on the top of this. There's multiple quarter 20 threads in the top of this mounting handle itself here, which works really well. Screw that down tight. Now what we want to do is we want to plug this into the 12 volt side of this, not the 7.4 volt. So we'll bring the cable around to the side here and plug it in. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to plug it into the USB-C connector here. When we plug it into the side here, now it gets in the way of the grip. As we can see here that I'm scared I'm going to put pressure on this. So the next thing I went looking for was some USB-C 90-degree high-speed ends. So I found those on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description below, as well as the Small Rig base and the Small Rig side handle and everything we're going to talk about in this video, so you don't have to do the work going and looking for it. So now we'll go ahead and we'll plug this into the side here on the USB-C port. So as you can see, this is clearly out of the way. It gives you ease, and you can just pop on your NPF battery here. Now, when you turn this on, you have to hold it for 4 seconds until the lights come on. And it was a little confusing at first. There really weren't any instructions with it. And you think, I have a lot of DJI products, so you would touch it once and then touch it again, and that doesn't work. The lights will stay illuminated for a short period of time, and then it still provides power. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn the camera on to the video mode here. And as we can see, it is using the USB PD. So it's a success on this, and since the lights are out, if I press this again, you can see that that gives you a battery indication on what your battery life is left. Now, that's how I would use this if I was going to use it as a handheld rig. The other way that I'm going to use it is filming videos like this, where it's going to be on a tripod and there's going to be a monitor mounted out to the side like I have here that I'm recording with my Canon 90D right now. So I'll go ahead and we'll pull this setup apart here. The next way that I use this So now we're down to the bare camera once again. This is a cheese plate, as they call it. It has multiple plates. I have a bunch of these small rig monitor mounts. You can mount that up on top here, then we can put the plate on top and it works really well. I also just recently came across, it's a Tilta product here that is a brand new product, and I really do like it. The quality is extremely well. The only problem I had, this has a 1/4-20 mounting stud in it, and then it had 2 locating studs, and the locating studs are a slightly larger diameter than what the small rig has on it. So I just unscrewed those both out. I just took a pair of needle nose pliers and they backed out very easily. It wasn't a big deal. This is neat because it slides back and forth. It has a NATO rail. You can actually push the button and take it apart. So if you wanted to screw this on the top of the camera, which I'll do now, which makes the battery removable, which is nice. We'll go ahead and we'll put the plate on here, get it level, and you can slide it forward and backward depending on what your balance needs. If you're using a slider or something, balance is always important. Now what we want to do is I'm big on cable management and routing. I don't like things in my way, and I like everything nice and neat. With the small rig, put the small rig facing forward here, and we'll go ahead and screw this onto the plate. Route our cable around the side here and plug into our USB-C power port on the side of the Canon. And as you can see, that makes a really nice, clean setup that everything is nice and neat. You can shake the camera around, everything works fine. So now I have all day power. I can swap this battery out without any problem. The internal battery in the camera will take over if I'm swapping this out. I can check my battery level at any given time by just pressing the button on the side once it's activated. So that solved my battery problem. So that really wasn't that big of a deal. I knew that going in. The big thing is the remote to trigger the video recording. I assumed that I could probably use my infrared remote that I've had for probably over a decade. The camera does have an infrared port on the front. It says it'll work, and it will work, but it'll only work in the photo mode. The next thing I tried here was the Bluetooth remote, and the Bluetooth remote will work perfectly for the photo side of the camera. It won't work at all for the video side of the camera. I went ahead and I contacted Canon. Canon didn't have any answers for me. I looked on several forums, really couldn't find anything about it whatsoever. So I one night was sitting there reading the manual, very discouraged, thinking, oh, well, geez, I'm gonna have to return this camera. I really don't wanna do that because I really, really like the camera, especially the R type of lenses, which is going to take the cinematography to a different level, in my opinion, for at least my level that I'm on now. I noticed in the manual that there is a remote trigger port in the front of the camera. So I got to thinking, I don't currently have a wired remote, but I do have a slider that will do time-lapse photography. So I rigged that up so it would have a 5-second shutter time, and sure enough, it actually triggered the video. So what I did is I jumped on Amazon and bought an inexpensive video, an inexpensive trigger for the camera. And what this is a radio frequency remote. This, from what I could tell, is made by 10 different manufacturers, or actually one manufacturer marketed under multiple different names. Uses 2 AAA batteries, has a cold shoe mount on it here and a 1/4-inch stud. So all you need to do is just mount it on something, stick it into the front of the camera here. So I'll go ahead and put this into my port here. It just uses the standard Canon 3-pin. I'll put a link in the description below that has this remote in it that I found. I've used it several times and it works very well. The remote itself is very simple. It's small. It actually has a 2-press button on it, where one is for autofocus and then one is to start recording. Since we're using it in the video mode, it really doesn't matter. I've tried it on multiple different settings, and I just leave it on the shutter, instant shutter type thing. This will work as a remote shutter as well on the camera, but you just hold down on it, and then it has a little tally light on it that tells you that it's on and working. We'll go ahead and we'll turn the camera on to video mode here. I've upgraded this to the latest software and it boots up very rapidly. And as you can see here by the lights, I'll go ahead and press the trigger, and now it's actually recording. So we're now recording in 2 different places, which is wonderful. I'll press the button again and it stops recording. And that made my day, I'll tell you. And I believe this is around $20. It's very inexpensive, and I'll put a link in the description for that. So now I've solved the 2 different problems, or the 2 major problems I had with the camera. I've been able to obtain some nice little products here. The last thing that I've recently come across is this monitor mount here. It's made by Small Rig, and this is designed for a shoulder type of rig. But I ended up putting this monitor mount on the camera on the side here, and it works really well for self-filming. As far as when you're looking at the camera, you can mount the monitor out to the side. You can also mount it further in front of you. You can actually get it to the point where it will actually be in the picture. So it's nice to get it closer to you so you can see what's actually going on. I'll put a link in the description of this. It's something you should check out. The other thing is, when you're using this with the hand grip on the side, I didn't cover that, but if you're using this with the hand grip on the side, I found the 90-degree connector to HDMI, the micro to the HDMI. That way, when you've got your grip on the side, it's not in your way if you mount your monitor up on top here and you have the battery on the side grip there. I'll do a few shots showing the different setups that I use that are not rushed and put together, so you can see how I actually did it. If you have any questions about how I went about running something or setting it up, please leave a comment below and I'll definitely answer that for you. I do appreciate you watching, and hopefully this makes your Canon R5C more enjoyable and answers some of the questions that I had that I couldn't get answered when I purchased the camera. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.